Hello everyone, Becca here, Willow Hill Designs. I thought I would stop by and do a quick video on my progress of my April block, my April page for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery. And also I'd just like to say welcome to the new subscribers. Thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. I'm new at YouTubing, so I don't know where this will go, but thank you for subscribing. Before I show my April block, I thought I would quickly show you my book, the progress for my book, and also to those people that suggested that I try to find another book instead of cutting up my husband's. This is the book that my husband bought me with his note in there. And I was lucky enough to find an identical book at thriftbooks.com very reasonably and actually in excellent condition. This is the book. This is the book that I bought to replace my husband's, and I didn't mind cutting the pages out of this one at all. This is the cover that I've chosen to put on the book, and I don't know if I'll put a little batting under this fabric or if I will just glue it right to the book. Not sure if I'll put the batting, then glue this to the batting. And inside I will just finish that edge off and put another piece of fabric on top just to cover any raw edges. This is my spine so far. It is just about done. I just am adding in the little French knots just to add a little bit of the peachy color in there. I almost wish I had put more peach color in the flowers to go with the book cover a little bit more, but it's just really all done. The spool of thread is done, the thimble, the needle, everything is all done now except for these little sort of coral colored French knots here. So this will go on my book like this. It'll cover the spine, and you should be able to see the needle and thread and thimble, and then the vine will wrap around to the front and also wrap around to the back. And I'm not sure if I will put lace on this edge between the cover and the spine, or if I will use this ticking. And then again, I may use ticking and lace just to give a finished look to the book. But so far it's shaping up, and I'm really almost done with the spine. So that's nice, another thing accomplished. And this is my book so far. And on the inside again, I'll trim this down to about 1/2 inch, and then I'll put another piece of fabric. I have something in mind, another Beatrix Potter fabric in green with just little outlines of animals and the little characters from her stories. I think I may put that on here, but it has a white background, so I may coffee tea dye that. But so this is the book so far. That would be my title page, and then my bunny and house, bunny and bouncing bunny, and I think it was vintage lace, and then this was fancy flowers and reclaimed fabric, and this was butterflies and bright butterflies and oh, I can't remember something. So so that's that page, and this is my April page. That'll go in there next to the little mouse. So this is April, and I thought I would just quickly show the fabric that I had chosen for the house, for the background and the house. I didn't have an old quilt, so I chose this fabric. This is an old decorator fabric that I've had for a long time that I was going to use in my studio, which I still am planning on using it. But I chose this flower for the house and the roof. So that's where those fabrics were taken from. And this is the house. This is actually part of that big flower. And because I didn't have a quilt, I put batting behind these, the roof and the house part, and I quilted it with a little running stitch. I don't know if you can see that. And so I kind of thought that would be my quilt, but then I said, oh, I don't know. I felt like that was kind of cheating. I think I broke the rules. I think the background was supposed to be quilt, so I've taken a piece of silk batting, and I will quilt this background so that it is on a quilt. So on the little house, I did some fly stitches on here to kind of look like shingles. And the roof, I did an outline stitch with some French knots in sort of an aqua color, a greenish robin's egg blue, I guess, and then some pale pink little French knots also. For the window, I just cut a piece of this fabric, the background fabric, and outlined that with a gray just to give it a little bit of dimension there, or to stand out, define it. And then the door is a piece of ultra suede, and I just put some lines to make it look wooden, and a little French knot for a knob, and some outline stitch or stem stitch around the door. And for the walkway, I wanted a little walkway to come down here. I had some Heshy beads that are made from shells. They're shells that were drilled. On some of them, you can actually see the lines of the shell. Some I turned over, some I put on the other side, sort of the mother of pearl side. And I just tacked those down in 2 or 3 places. And then I did an outline stitch to outline the path there. And the lily of the valley, these are turned applique, and I don't know, with slow stitching, I'm new to all of this. I don't know if things are supposed to have raw edges, or I don't know. Does it matter if they're raw edges or turned edges? I don't seem to be able to do the raw edges so well. I'm approaching this as a quilter, and I always do a finished edge on applique, so I probably have to loosen up and try the raw edges. But these are all finished edges, and I embroidered the Lily of the Valley stitches. And I'll just show you quickly, I don't know if anyone would be interested or not, but I'll just show you quickly that when I do the Lily of the Valley leaves or anything like that, any shape like that, I just cut a shape out of the fusible, washable, wash-away stabilizer. So no matter what it is, if it's a flower, I mean, it could be intricate designs. I've used it to make all sorts of intricate designs, and I just cut that shape out, iron it to the wrong side of the fabric. Then I just take a sew-line glue stick, a fabric glue stick, and put it on the edge, and I just will fold these edges over, and it sticks. And you get a really nice finished edge. Everything can be prepared ahead of time, and then you can just applique, and that's what I did here with this. This is what it looks like when the edges are finished, and it's all turned, it's all glued down. And this, I think it's about 80% of this washes away. It turns into sort of almost like just a fiber. Most of it washes away, but most of my quilts, many of them, the majority are wall hangings, so I don't really wash my quilts, but I just like, I mean, it really does allow you to do all sorts of detail, and it's just easy. I used to do needle turn, and I just don't do it anymore. It's time consuming, and life life gets in the way, so it's nice to be able to sit down and stitch. And here's another. This was like a little window for a little house. I had received some fabric from a friend in England, and this I put on some little houses in a little piece. And same thing, just cut a square, and it just really does allow you to get everything very accurate. Which reminds me, I had a subscriber ask me about the quilt that I showed last time, Miss Lucy's Cottage. She asked me if there was a pattern for it, and I don't do that anymore. It's just a little bit too much. It's too time consuming. There's too much logistics, really, printing patterns and typing them out and copying them, and it just became too much. So I don't really do that anymore. And the quilt that I did show, I don't have a pattern for that one. That's just my original. So I will show that at the end. And if anyone wants to click off, go on to the next video, you certainly can. I'll show that at the very end for Frida. Frida B. Had asked about that. But for the Lily of the Valley stitch, I thought I would just show you quickly. It's really very easy. I took 4 strands of thread and just came up as if I was making a lazy daisy, and decide on the length that you want for your flower, whatever your flower might be, and come up with your tacking stitch at the base. And I kind of pulled it fairly tight. Go right down there. And then the next loop that I would make, I would put it very close here and here on either side, and you can do 3 loops. And I think the reason that it looks like kind of like a little bell is that I went in to the same hole at the top and make another loop. So just go right back into the same hole and decide where you'd like I brought it up a tiny bit from the side. From the center loop, just bring it up a tiny bit to just give it a little dimension. It almost resembles a snowdrop flower at this point. I think it would be pretty as a snowdrop. And then again, came up in the very same spot as the other 2 loops, made a 3rd loop. And in some of mine, I made 4 loops, just depending on. And again, I would come up just a little bit above that center loop, make sure I catch this loop. Trying to do this around the camera. And just pull that. That loop is twisted. We can untwist that. Make sure your loop is straight. And then just bring it down. And then I should have pulled this loop a little bit tighter. And then I just added a stitch right in the center of those stitches. And depending on if you want to do all 3, if you think it's necessary, you can do all 3. If not, and that loop should have been a little bit tighter, and you could even do 1 more loop here on either side, just to make it a little bit larger of a flower. Try to come in pull it nice and tight. Rather than having a lazy daisy, it's more of an elongated stitch. And then do one more stitch in the center. And that gave me the look that I wanted. That gave me the Lily of the Valley, which I really liked. And I actually started to put a little French knots at the bottom of these, but it just didn't need it. I don't know, it didn't need it. So I liked that. And then I added this little mouse, and she's from Brambly Hedge. I think I'm going to do a little, just with one strand outline stitch around her, and probably brown, just to have her stand out a little bit. I think she's Mrs. Apple from the Brambly Hill stories. And this was from a new fabric line that I got. I think it's by, is it Dale Hannah? And I love this little toadstool, and there's a little mouse on there, so it looks like, to me, like a baby mouse, and the mom is looking at the baby mouse there, but that's the story I'm making up anyway. And these flowers were cut out of the fabric that I used for the grass. So I just didn't want to cover this blue entirely, this blue background. I didn't want it to be all solid green. So I just cut out these flowers, and I put a French knot and some straight stitches in the centers of those to give those some dimension. And then my gate was this piece of lace, which I thought really lent itself to the gate. And this twill tape was nice for the fence. And I decided, rather than have the fence posts come all the way down, I had this fabric with a stone wall, and it is also from Beatrix Potter, Fabrics by Frederick Warren. And so I liked that. I thought I could make some flowers spilling over the wall here, and some also in front of it. I thought it would be easier than sewing on this twill tape. This twill tape was very wiggly, and I thought to sew over it, it would be, I think this is a little bit clearer for the flowers. You'll see them a little better. And this was just a plain green wall, so I took my Derwent pencils, fabric pencils, and I just shaded them a tiny bit to just make it look so it's not just a flat green wall. There's some blue in here and some brown. If I put fabric medium on that, that would become permanent. It wouldn't wash out, but I don't intend on washing this page, so I think it'll be fine as is. So the very last thing I have to do on this page, I think, is we'll outline the mouse and make a little garden here outside this wall for the gate. And also I added these little pieces of lace. There wasn't a lot of room up here to do a lot. I didn't want to crowd too much. And I just added these little pieces of lace so that it looks like she's in the garden, that there are overbranching flowers. I don't know if I'll do some green satin stitching in these or not. I'm not sure about that yet. But and this little part of the roof is from this center of the fabric. And I thought it kind of lent itself to looking a little bit like a thatched roof, or, well, either way, just a little different color. So it would differentiate from the house and the chimney. So here's the little chimney here, also from the same piece of fabric. That fabric just kept giving. So that's my block for April, and I will quilt this so that I'm following the rules, and it's on a quilted background. And if anyone has any advice for me on whether it's okay to do turned edges for slow stitching, I don't know. I tried to look it up and I didn't really find anything on it, so I just thought I kind of have to work in my own style, and this is my style to turn the edges on things. I mean, some things are raw, but for the most part, I like to turn the edges. So I don't know. Hopefully you can do anything you want. So that's my block. And I thought I would just quickly share this lace. My friend from England sent this for my birthday, and I love this. I love lace anyway, but I just thought this was gorgeous. And I'm thinking that maybe I can use it in part of an upcoming prompt. I don't know if there'll be anything with lace, but look at these pieces. I actually wanted to add it to April's block, but there just wasn't enough room. My page isn't big enough, and there's 2 pieces of this. So this will last me quite a while. I think it's really beautiful. So thank you to Jill in England for that. It is gorgeous. Now I will attempt to show the quilt that Frida had asked me about. And if you would like to click off, please feel free. I totally understand. And I'm going to move things here and see if I can show this. This is a table in front of our bay window here. So I'm going to move this as well. And I will try. This is kind of a bigger quilt. I started this a long time ago, so it is a work in progress for quite a long time. There are 2 trees on each side of this quilt, on this scene, and their branches overarch and kind of crisscross in the center. I don't have the branch on the tree on this side here, but I took that off. But this is kind of where it is right now. This is a little squirrel up in the tree, Happy Jack up in the tree, and here's a butterfly that's floating by. And just part of the overstory here, the trees branching over the little scene where Miss Lucy's cottage is. And there are like, these almost make me think of barberry berries or rose hips, maybe little rose hips. And these are, again, some other little berries, and these look like oak leaves to me. But it was my quilt, and I could do anything I wanted, even though there aren't berries on oak trees. So there's a large cone flower and some more of these berries, and more berries and blackberries. I was inspired by Jill Barklam's stories and the little mice that have their own little world under all the plants. So I wanted some, that's called brambly hedge. So these are kind of bramble bushes with blackberries here. And then her cottage, this is her cottage where she lives, and her little door with a daisy and beads. And she has a little basket of flowers on a rock outside her door. And here's an acorn here also that has fallen on the forest floor. And she's got a mushroom outside of her house. And also matchsticks hold up a quilt that she's made. And this is not pieced. This is colored. This is all colored in and then stitched. Just stitched on the machine to look as if it's quilted, but that is not pieced. That is just colored in. And of course another acorn. And these are the trees that border on the right side of the quilt. And down here are some more leaves, and here's a pea pod, maybe from a locust on the ground. And here's a little friend, a little caterpillar in a walnut shell. And this little edge on the walnut shell is done with ultra suede for really tiny pieces. That comes in handy. Again, here's Miss Lucy, and she's out picking some berries, blueberries, and who knows what else, and some leaves that have fallen. And this is a little chipmunk friend here that is sitting on a log. This is a log down here. And these are the trees on the other side. So that is Miss Lucy's cottage, and there is no pattern. This is just an original design, and I just wouldn't want to have to do the work for that pattern. I've patterned a lot of my quilts. Some have been in McCall's in series quilts, but that would be daunting, I think. So that is where I am with my April. I'll leave you with my April block. And thank you very much for stopping by to see what my April page looked like. I'm enjoying seeing everyone's. Just inspire me. I'm amazed at the work that's out there. I think we all inspire each other, and I think that's so nice. But thank you very much, and happy stitching, and bye for now.